Hello everyone, welcome to Let the Light in TV. I am Craig Christoffersen, and this is the Accsoon Cineview SE. We've got the transmitter on the camera, receivers here in my hand, and we are feeding it through an HDMI cable up onto the monitor so that you can see how it would look. The delay on this is 50 milliseconds. Both the transmitter and the receiver have an SDI and HDMI port connections, and they will transmit at a maximum of 1080p and 60 frames per second. So if you are transmitting, if you want to record in 4K, what's going to happen here is up on the screen, it's not going to be downsized. It's not going to be rescaled to fit the screen if you are transmitting in 4K. What's going to happen, as you can see here, is that you're only going to see about a quarter of the screen. And I've contacted Accsoon about this, and they may come to fix that in a future update. That is up to them. I don't know. I don't work for the company. But the maximum, you can still record in 4K on your camera, but the maximum you can transmit is 1080p, 60 frames per second. Now, the selling point for the transmitter receiver here for the Cineview SE is this. It transmits the signal in two ways. It transmits it on the 2.4 gigahertz and 5 gigahertz wavelengths, and so it's a dual band frequency simultaneously running. So it's sending two signals for increased stability. And what they are claiming is that it can run at a 1,200 foot line of sight, 1,200 feet line of sight. Now we'll get into range tests later, and of course, just want to preface that by saying that depends on your area. The signals running through your area. I live in the country, you may live in the city, and so the signals being sent around are going to be very different depending on where you live. More on that later, but back to the transmitter receiver. Both of them weigh the same at 210 grams, and they are 130 millimeters tall. Now you have different power options. I'm going to use the receiver since this is the one that we can see. I have personally an NPF style battery plugged into the back here, and then on the side here we have a DC in port and then as well as a USB-C port. And what you can do is I have a battery pack sitting right here on my lap, USB-C. I'm going to plug it into the receiver here, and I'm going to take off the NPF style, and as you can see, our signal is going to stay on the television. Our unit stays powered up, only running, see, battery's up here. Little magic trick, put it back on, unplug it, there we go. Seamless, you can hot swap power sources. They are also silent. I've had these running for a little bit now, and I have not heard any fan noise during any of my tests or any of my usage. They have remained quiet, and in fact, just so you know, I've got my microphone right here. Nothing. You can monitor the stream on up to 4 different devices. So we've got a monitor plugged in here. I can also monitor on my phone. You can monitor on your iPad, TV, field monitor, even on an iMac or a MacBook if you are an Apple system type user. That is also available for you as well. And if you're looking to use your phone as a field monitor, and more on that later because that's actually a very powerful tool that they've built up for you, it's an Accsoon app. It's just called Accsoon. You can download it on your phone and you can monitor it on your phone. We'll come back to that because that's actually very powerful. But first, let's keep going on the monitor itself. Let's talk about signal loss. So the transmitter transmits the signal on both the 2.4 and the 5 gigahertz wavelengths. It's dual band frequencies running simultaneously. And what the receiver is then doing is that it can intelligently identify interference. So if interference is happening, what it's going to do is it's going to combine, it receives those two streams, it combines it, and then it's going to intelligently pick, if any of that is being interfered on, it's going to intelligently pick out which stream is running good, and it's going to combine those so that you have no signal loss, no black screens. Now I took these outside for a distance test, and the claim here is that they can do 1,200 feet if it's line of sight. It will not drop signal 1,200 feet line of sight. And I can confirm, easy test, right? Setting it up as they say. I had a 1,000 foot set of space And whether it was on high quality mode or whether it was on speed transmission mode, it really didn't seem to matter. I got those full 1,000 feet, no dropouts, it was line of sight. Now, what did happen is whenever I went around the corner, you can see there's some trees in the way. Those trees did cause, at that distance, which is just about the maximum distance that they claim line of sight can do, but at that distance, that tree at about 1,000, 1,100 feet, got in the way. I got the signal dropout. Once I made it kind of around the tree and it wasn't line of sight, but it was more clear, the signal did come back. So I can confirm, easy test, just as they said, 1,200 feet, no problem, it can do it. Line of sight though, keep that in mind, line of sight. Now in a more difficult test, what I did is, as you can see the camera sitting on my table, I've got the monitor, I've got the TV here. What I did is I left for a more difficult test, and this isn't really scientific. There's not really a great way to measure this because where I live is going to be different from the environment where you live. I live in the country. Who knows where you live? You know, you do, but I don't. So this isn't scientific because we can't compare wavelengths going on around us. So I left the receiver right here as it is. I went outside, I looped around back, and I went for a little walk, and we are building a new steel building over there. And so I got about, I want to say 100 meters that way with a steel building in between the receiver and the transmitter, about 130 meters before there was signal loss. And switching to speed mode only gave me, let's say 10 to 12 more feet. Again, that's not scientific, but just for interest's sake, even with the steel building in the way, going from inside to outside, I thought it performed decently well. If we take a closer look at the receiver and transmitter itself, what we have on the side here is a dial. And what the dial does is it can select different groups. And so we are on group number 1. Now, if we had multiple transmitters and receivers, what we could do is transmit through different groups. So if I had another transmitter set up, what I could do is I could flip both the transmitter and receiver to group number 2. And what that would do is it would differentiate the feeds that are being passed on. So you could have group number 1, group number 2, and we have all the way through group number 16. Okay, let's talk about the app. So first of all, to connect, what we want to do is we want to turn on our Wi-Fi, and an Accsoon Wi-Fi will pop up. I am currently connected. We're going to go down to Accsoon here, open up the app, turn on Bluetooth. We're already done. I've got the Cineview. You want to click and make sure that you are under Cineview. By the way, just while we are on the main menu here, what we do have is an option for firmware upgrades. There's currently none out right now, so if you're trying to download a firmware upgrade and you're just getting an error, it's because there's nothing to download yet. So we've got Cineview selected. As you can see here, I now have the feed up on my phone, and this is, let me tell you, it's an incredibly powerful tool. I did not realize or expect this app to be this good. It turns your phone, your iPad, even your computer into a professional monitoring device. So let's go through it. I know you were probably not clicking on this video expecting an app review, but I think it's really important to include it just so that you're aware of the tools that you are giving yourself if you choose to purchase the Cineview SE. So let's go through it. What we have here first is we have our grayscale, then we have RGB colors, we have next a histogram, we have a scope, wave scope on the top right, then we have our focus peaking, and we can change all of the colors of these things by the menu system. See, if we pull up on the bottom left here, we can pull up, RGB can be green, blue, or red. We have our histogram settings. We can put it in left top, left bottom, right bottom, center, wherever we want to do that. We have our waveform, and we can put that in a different corner. And then we have our focus, our peaking, and we can change our peaking to be a different color. And by the way, you can have multiple settings up at one time, right? So if we have our peaking and we have our scope and we have our histogram, we can have overlaid settings. Moving on, we can upload a LUT file to iCloud. apply the LUT on our phone here and see if we want to, if we want to record, for example, I'm in Sony, so if I want to record an S-Log3, I can pull a LUT up on my phone and see, okay, what would the final coloring process kind of look like here? If you want to make a couple more adjustments in editing, but I can upload a LUT to iCloud, bring it onto the phone through the app and see what it would look like. Very powerful tools. Zebras, again, all of this is adjustable. You can adjust your zebra percentages. We have false color with our scale here on the left side of the phone. We have waveforms, so I can currently check, what my audio levels are. Sorry, not waveforms, audio levels. We have different framing grids. We can change them. I'm not going to read out all the dimensions because there is a lot of dimensions, but you have different framing sections. You can compress the image. You've got your 9 grid there. You have a lot of different tools. And finally, one more thing that I want to cover. It's so good. We have our live button. What you can do is you can live stream. First of all, you can hit, record and record through your phone, but you can live stream through this app. So I've got, my mic hooked up. I've got the camera all ready to go. I'm transmitting the signal. By the way, you don't need the receiver powered up in order to keep the signal on your phone. The phone works if you only have the transmitter on. But what you can do is you can hit live and you can live stream this feed right here, this audio right here. And what I did is you can see the screenshot here. I did this with YouTube and I can live stream to YouTube from this feed with the transmitter and just my phone. I don't even need the receiver. So as you can see, there is even photo overlays. You can take a screenshot, grab a screenshot, bring that screenshot into the app, overlay it on the image. This is a powerful app. I mean, I know you're here to learn about the transmitter and receiver, but this is a powerful app with a lot of tools. I mean, you don't even necessarily, if you've got your phone and you're free to use it. And by the way, if you are using an iPad, let's think about applications here. If you are using an iPad, what you can do is you can go into split screen mode. You can probably do this on Android tablets as well. I'm not familiar with those. But you can go into split screen mode on your iPad. You can have, for example, up in Pages or up in Notes, you can have your shot list on one side of your iPad, and you can have the monitor feed up on the other side of the iPad. I mean, this is powerful. So it's got the app. The app is wonderful, powerful. I love that it brings professional monitoring tools to your phone. That's incredible, but let's get back to the device itself. All right, let's start to wrap things up. And first of all, I want to talk about a couple of cons with this system. Now, the first con is a debatable con because this is maximum signal-wise 1080p. But I just want to mention again, if you are going to record in 4K, then all you're going to see on your monitor is just the top left quarter of your image coming through. Now, again, you can still record 4K through your camera, and this is not a 4K transmission system, but just something that, if they wanted to work on rescaling the image for you, that'd be pretty cool. Other than that, the other con that I had is, and again, this totally depends on your setup, right? We're getting a little nitpicky here. The antennas, the unit size is great, by the way. The antennas don't bend. And so, for example, if you have a field monitor where this could potentially attach to, the antennas, because they don't bend, could actually take up space where you can't use the monitor, or you can't attach it maybe where you want to. But again, that totally depends on your setup, where you're gonna place these things. So that may not be a problem for you, just something that potentially some people could run into. Finishing up though with the pros of this unit, it's got excellent transmission technology. It's not going to drop your signal. It can go at far distances, 1,200 feet, and transmitting it at low latency of 50 milliseconds. You can also live stream from it. And really, what I was greatly, pleasantly surprised with is the Accsoon app that can essentially turn your phone into a very professional monitor and doesn't even cost anything. Now, the transmitter and receiver itself do cost you something. It will be $650 US. If you would like to purchase these units, then the links are down in the description. I hope I was informative for you today. If you've got any questions, let me know down in the description. I hope you have a wonderful day. Subscribe if you aren't. Links are down below if you want to check out Dustin Abbott's channel. That's about it. I hope you have a wonderful day, and remember to let the light in.